Welcome to One Book, One Coffee. Today, you've chosen to explore The Social Contract by Jean-Jacques Rousseau. That choice speaks volumes about you. While the world is busy scrolling through endless feeds and hopping from one streaming service to another, you're here, ready to dive into a deep exploration of political philosophy. The Social Contract isn't just a book, it's a profound conversation about the very fabric of society and governance. It's a work that has inspired countless leaders and thinkers, including figures like Barack Obama, who valued Rousseau's ideas on democracy and civic responsibility. Rousseau, a prominent philosopher of the Enlightenment, sought to unravel the complexities of social structures and the nature of human freedom. His personal journey was riddled with struggles and contemplations, stemming from a difficult childhood and a lifelong quest for personal identity and societal understanding. Now, a quick note before we dive in. This is a detailed chapter-by-chapter walkthrough, so it's going to be a longer session. Take your time with it. There's no rush. If you need to step away, save this video to your watch later or forward the link to yourself on WhatsApp so you can pick up right where you left off. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's walk through this book together, chapter by chapter, idea by idea. Let's begin. Jean-Jacques Rousseau was a towering figure of the Enlightenment, born in Geneva in 1712. His early life was marked by hardship, having lost his mother shortly after birth and later being abandoned by his father. Driven by a quest for understanding of human nature and society, Rousseau became a prolific writer and philosopher. His experiences of alienation and a deep sense of justice fueled his writings, leading him to create The Social Contract, a seminal work that challenges the status quo of societal governance and personal freedom. Narration. Hey there, grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into the fascinating world of The Social Contract by Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Picture this. It's the 18th century, a time of upheaval and change in Europe. Society is buzzing with new ideas, and one of the most radical voices in this chorus is Rousseau. Now, why should we care about something written over 250 years ago? Well, because the questions Rousseau is tackling, about freedom, equality, and the nature of government, are as relevant today as they were back then. Imagine waking up in a world where every decision, from what you wear to how you live, is dictated by someone else. Sounds suffocating, right? Rousseau starts by challenging us to think about how we got to where we are. He paints a picture of society as a kind of social experiment where people have agreed, either consciously or not, to give up some of their freedoms in exchange for security and structure. It's like signing a social contract, a mutual agreement to ensure that we can all live together in relative harmony. But, and here's the kicker, Rousseau argues that many of these agreements no longer serve us and need reevaluation. /N Rousseau draws us in with his opening remark, man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. Think about that for a moment. We all have an innate desire for freedom, yet we constantly find ourselves bound by rules, traditions, and systems that we didn't choose. This tension between freedom and authority is the crux of Rousseau's argument. He invites us to question, how much of our freedom are we willing to surrender for the benefits of living in society? More importantly, who should get to decide this balance? /N to make sense of this, let's look at a modern parallel. Consider our digital world. Social media platforms are today's social contracts. We exchange a degree of privacy for connectivity and information. But have you ever paused to wonder if the exchange is fair? Are the benefits we receive worth the privacy we give up? Rousseau would urge us to scrutinize these arrangements and consider the power dynamics at play. Rousseau also tells us a story, a metaphorical one. Imagine society as a ship at sea. Each structure, law, or tradition is a part of this vessel. Some parts are essential to keep it afloat, like the hull or the sails. Others, like outdated ropes or rusted anchors, might drag us down. Rousseau suggests that we need to discern what truly serves us and what doesn't. It's not just about getting rid of rules, but ensuring that our social agreements are fair and just, promoting the common good. /N now. Think about leadership. Rousseau was wary of authority concentrated in the hands of a few. He believed that true sovereignty lies with the people, a concept that laid the groundwork for modern democracies. Today, we see this idea play out in how we elect our leaders and hold them accountable. But here's another question. How well is this working out? Are our leaders representing us, or have we, somewhere along the line, let go of our power? /N Rousseau pushes us to imagine a society where the general will, the collective will of the people, is the guiding principle. Imagine a community where decisions are made not just by leaders for the people but with the people. This is not merely a pipe dream. Look at participatory budgeting projects in cities like Porto Alegre in Brazil, where citizens have a direct say in how public funds are spent. This is Rousseau's vision in action, a tangible way to ensure that the social contract is alive and working for everyone. /N, but Rousseau doesn't just leave us with grand ideas. He offers practical wisdom, the need for active participation. He warns against complacency and encourages vigilance. After all, a contract is only as good as the commitment of its parties. Are we actively engaging in shaping our communities, or are we passive spectators? /N. So, as we sip our coffee and muse over these concepts, let's remember that Rousseau's introduction is a call to action, an invitation to think critically about our role in society. Are we content with the chains we've accepted, or is there room for a new agreement? His challenge resonates especially today as we navigate complex social and political landscapes. /N. As we wrap up this section, let's carry forward Rousseau's ideas as a lens to view the past, understand the present, and shape the future. It's about finding a delicate balance between individual freedoms and collective responsibility. And in doing so, perhaps we can forge a social contract that truly reflects the best of what it means to be human. So, here's to reflection and action. After all, the next chapter in this story is ours to write. Jason. Narration. Welcome, friends, to our cozy corner of the world where we sip coffee and dive into the timeless worlds of classic literature. Today, we're delving into the thought-provoking pages of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract, specifically Chapter 1, which lays the groundwork for everything that follows. Imagine sitting across from Rousseau in a quaint, candle-lit cafe in 18th-century France. His eyes are alight with passion as he leans forward and begins to unravel the mysterious, almost magical idea of the social contract. /N. Rousseau's idea starts with a simple premise, one that might seem as straightforward as black coffee, yet as complex as a finely brewed espresso. He tells us that people are born free, yet everywhere they are in chains. Now, ponder that for a moment. Isn't that a compelling image? Picture the freedom of a child running through a field, yet as we grow, these invisible chains bind us in the form of laws, obligations, and societal norms. /N. So, why do we submit to these chains? Why trade our unfettered liberty for a life of rules? Rousseau's answer is the social contract, a foundational agreement among individuals to form a society. But wait, he's not talking about a signed piece of paper or a formal handshake. No, it's more of a tacit understanding, like the unspoken agreement you have with a friend to always have each other's backs. /N. Consider this. When you're driving, you stop at a red light, not just because it's the law, but because you've agreed, along with countless others, that doing so keeps everyone safe. It's this shared commitment to the greater good that forms the bedrock of the social contract. Rousseau suggests that in giving up some personal freedoms, we gain civil liberties and the protection of the group. It's a trade-off, like swapping individual melodies for a harmonious symphony. /N. Now, think about this in today's context. Many of us live in societies bustling with activity, governed by laws and regulations. These rules, whether we like them or not, are the outcome of our collective agreement to live peacefully together. In a way, our modern social contracts are like the terms and conditions we automatically accept when using our favorite apps. We might skim them, perhaps not fully understanding every clause, but we trust they enable us to enjoy a smoother, more connected experience. /n Rousseau also delves into the idea of general will, which might sound like it belongs in a superhero comic, but it's actually a core concept. Think of it as the collective will of the people, an overarching desire for the common good. It's like the orchestra conductor who ensures all instruments play in concert, creating music rather than noise. The general will is supposed to represent the best interests of all, rather than a select few. /n, but here's a rhetorical twist. How does this idea hold up in our modern democracies? In systems where often only a fraction of the population's will seems to be reflected, Rousseau's vision challenges us to think about how truly inclusive our societies are. Are we really listening to the general will or just the loudest voices? /n let's bring this back to a personal level. Imagine you're planning a group trip with friends. Everyone has different ideas: the beach, the mountains, a vibrant city. Through discussion and compromise, you choose a destination that might not be everyone's first choice, but it ensures everyone has a good time. That's the social contract at work, a balance achieved through mutual respect and shared goals. /n Rousseau's insights are not merely historical curiosities. They are blueprints for building communities that value each individual's voice while striving for collective harmony. In a world where social media can amplify dissent and divide, perhaps revisiting Rousseau's idea of the social contract could guide us toward more understanding and unity. /n so, as we turn the last page of this chapter and refill our cups, let's carry with us Rousseau's vision of a society bound not by chains, but by chosen ties of cooperation and common purpose. It's a reminder that the true power of the social contract lies not in what we sacrifice, but in what we gain, a society where freedom and solidarity walk hand in hand, much like friends sharing stories over coffee. /n what will you take away from this exploration of Rousseau's, the social contract? How can these age-old ideas find a place in your life? As you ponder these questions, remember this conversation, much like the social contract itself, is an ongoing dialogue. Until next time, my friends, keep questioning, keep exploring, and above all, keep the conversation alive. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Narration: Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another cozy session of /1 book 1 coffee. Grab your favorite mug, settle into a comfy chair, and let's dive into a fascinating discussion from Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract. Today, we're exploring Chapter 3, which is all about the right of the strongest, a timeless critique of power dynamics and legitimacy. /n imagine this. You're walking through a dense forest and suddenly you stumble upon two animals. One is a mighty lion, the epitome of strength and dominance. The other is a cunning fox, quick and clever. Now, who has the right to rule this forest? The one with brute strength or the one with strategic intelligence? This question is at the heart of Rousseau's critique. /n Rousseau begins by challenging the idea that might makes right. He argues that just because someone is powerful doesn't mean they have legitimate authority. Think about it. Does the biggest kid on the playground automatically get to make the rules? Of course not. Power without legitimacy is like a house built on sand. It might stand for a while, but it will eventually crumble. /n Rousseau points out that if we accept that strength equals right, then we must also accept that any act of rebellion or resistance is justified the moment the weaker party gains the upper hand. This creates a never-ending cycle of power struggles, where peace and stability are impossible. It's like a game of musical chairs, where the rules change every time the music stops. /n now. Think about this in terms of modern society. We often see powerful corporations and billionaires exerting influence over politics and policies. But does their financial might give them the right to dictate our lives? Rousseau would argue that true legitimacy comes from a collective agreement of the people, not from the deep pockets of a select few. N Rouse uses a vivid metaphor to drive his point home. Imagine a giant holding a child in the palm of his hand, claiming he has the right to crush the child simply because he can. It's a chilling image that forces us to confront the moral absurdity of equating power with legitimacy. We wouldn't accept such behavior on a personal level, so why should we accept it in society at large? And he goes further to explain that real authority should come from social contracts, agreements made by individuals in a society to create governance structures that protect and serve the common good. This is where the notion of the general will comes into play. It's about finding a balance where individual freedoms are respected, yet aligned with the collective interests of the community. N Let's bring this idea into a familiar scenario. Picture a group of roommates deciding on house rules. One person can't just impose their will because they're physically stronger or have more financial resources. Instead, they need to discuss, negotiate, and agree on terms that work for everyone. This ensures that each member feels respected and valued, creating harmony within the household. N Rouse also challenges us to reflect on how we perceive power and strength in our personal lives. Have you ever been in a situation where someone tried to dominate a conversation or decision because they felt they were in the right due to their position? This chapter encourages us to question such dynamics and seek legitimacy in our interactions. N As we wrap up today's discussion, think about how Rousseau's insights apply to our world today. In a time where social movements rise to challenge established powers, the relevance of Rousseau's critique is undeniable. It reminds us to strive for societies where power is derived from consent, not coercion. N Thanks for joining me in unraveling this thought-provoking chapter of Rousseau's The Social Contract. I hope it's given you some food for thought over your coffee. Remember, we're stronger when we question and challenge the status quo in pursuit of a just and equitable world. Until next time, stay curious and keep those conversations brewing. Narration. Welcome back to One Book, One Coffee, where we dive deep into classic works over a warm cup of your favorite brew. Today, we're exploring a thought-provoking section from Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract, Chapter 4, Slavery. Now, what could be more comforting on a chilly day than a conversation about freedom and subjugation? Okay, maybe comforting isn't the right word, but it's definitely stimulating. N Imagine you're sitting in a cozy cafe, watching the world go by, and this topic pops up. Slavery. A concept so heavy, yet so crucial to understanding the roots of freedom and governance. Rousseau doesn't tread lightly here. He tackles it head-on, with the kind of fervor that makes you question the very fabric of societal bonds. He begins by challenging the notion that any person could rightfully be someone else's property. Now, think about this. Can we really own a person in the way we own an object? It's a jarring thought. For Rousseau, the answer is a resounding no. N He argues that the idea of legitimate slavery is a contradiction in terms. Just like you can't have a square circle, you can't have slavery that's truly justifiable. But why? Rousseau paints a picture that's both logical and emotional. He suggests that true authority doesn't come from force. It's derived from mutual consent. Picture two people, one with a sword and the other with a handshake. Which one exemplifies true power? Rousseau would say it's the handshake, the symbol of agreement and trust, not the threat of force. N To make his argument relatable, let's consider a modern parallel, the workplace. You can't imagine a boss who keeps employees productive purely through threats, right? Successful modern leaders inspire and earn loyalty rather than demand it. They foster an environment where people choose to contribute because they feel valued and part of a team. This idea echoes Rousseau's belief that a genuine social contract is built on consent rather than coercion. N Rousseau continues by dissecting the social and moral implications of subjugation. He uses the metaphor of a living body, where every part has a role, yet no part is enslaved to another. Each organ functions independently but harmoniously, contributing to a vibrant and functioning whole. Doesn't that sound like the ideal society? One where everyone has a voice and a purpose, yet no one lives under the oppressive weight of another's control. /n/n now, let's travel back in time and think about the context in which Rousseau was writing. The 18th century was a period rife with monarchies and empires built on the backs of subjugated people. Rousseau's ideas were nothing short of revolutionary. Imagine the courage it took to stand up against the status quo and propose a society based on equality and mutual respect. It's like trying to convince a room full of people who have only ever known night that daylight exists. /n/n Rousseau doesn't just leave us with abstract ideas. He challenges us to rethink the very foundations of our relationships and institutions. He asks, if slavery is wrong, what does that say about a society that permits it? It's a question that echoes through history and into the present day. Consider the ongoing struggles for civil rights and social justice. Every movement is, in essence, a fight against new forms of subjugation, a call for society to live up to the ideals Rousseau envisioned. /n/n in a world where we often hear phrases like, freedom isn't free, Rousseau reminds us that true freedom is inherently natural and doesn't come with a price tag. It's not a commodity to be traded but a birthright to be protected. Picture a river flowing freely. It's only when it's dammed and diverted it loses its natural course. Human freedom, Rousseau argues, is much the same. /n/n as we sip our coffee and ponder these timeless ideas, let's consider their relevance today. The discussions about freedom, consent, and power dynamics are as vital now as they were in Rousseau's time. How often do we encounter situations where people are coerced into agreements or roles they didn't choose? Whether it's in politics, workplaces, or personal relationships, the principles Rousseau explored provide a lens through which we can evaluate the fairness and ethics of our interactions. /n/n So, as we wrap up today's discussion, let's take a moment to appreciate how Rousseau's ideas, though centuries old, continue to challenge and inspire. They call us to imagine what's possible when we prioritize mutual respect and consent over force and domination. /n/n Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the social contract. As always, keep questioning, keep reading, and keep sipping that coffee. Until next time. Hey there, welcome back to another cozy session of One Book, One Coffee. Today, we're diving into a fascinating section of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's classic, The Social Contract, Chapter 5, intriguingly titled that we must always go back to a first convention. Now, if that title sounds a bit like a philosophical time machine, you're not too far off. Buckle up, because we're about to explore why Rousseau believes that to understand society, we must constantly return to the roots of our foundational agreements. Imagine this, you're building a house. You begin with a sturdy foundation, carefully laid out to support everything that follows. Over time, you start adding walls, a roof, maybe even a quirky little attic. But as the years pass, you notice cracks forming, things start to creak, and someday you might even find that you can't close the door properly. What do? Do you patch up the cracks and hope for the best, or do you investigate the very foundation upon which your house stands? Rousseau would argue that just as with houses, to truly grasp and potentially fix the issues in our society, we have to revisit and understand the initial agreements upon which it was built. Now think about this. Why do societies need foundational agreements in the first place? Rousseau suggests that these agreements, or conventions, are like the original handshake in a long-term partnership. They are the principles and promises we make with one another to form a functioning society. Without these, we'd be living in chaos, a constant state of every person for themselves. And we all know how well that usually turns out. Just imagine a game of musical chairs with no music and no chairs. Rousseau beautifully encapsulates the essence of these conventions as the social contract itself. This isn't just a piece of paper or a set of laws, but rather an understanding, a mutual agreement that binds us as a society. It's like the invisible string connecting all of us, ensuring that we move harmoniously, or at least try to. Without this foundational agreement, our societies would unravel, much like a sweater whose thread has been pulled too far. But here's the kicker. Rousseau stresses that these initial agreements aren't just historical artifacts. They demand revisiting and reaffirming, much like renewing vows in a marriage. Why? Because over time, societies change, people change, and the world changes. It's the dynamic nature of life. And if our foundational agreements don't evolve with us, they become obsolete, unable to address contemporary challenges. Just think about how often we update technology. Imagine if our social agreements were stuck in their initial version like an old operating system. Let's bring this into today's world. Think about the digital age we live in. We're more connected than ever, but are we really more cohesive? Social contracts in the digital era require us to consider issues like privacy, digital rights, and ethical technology use. We need new conventions to navigate the vast world of online communities, like setting the rules of engagement for social media, which can often feel like the Wild West. Without revisiting and updating these foundational agreements, we risk our digital lives spiraling into chaos. Now here's an interesting metaphor for you. Picture society as a grand symphony. Each instrument represents an individual or a group, each with its unique sound and role. The first convention is the sheet music, the fundamental score everyone agrees to play. But as the world changes, perhaps new instruments are added or old ones are replaced. If the sheet music isn't revised, the harmony could soon turn into cacophony. That's why going back to that first convention, our original societal agreements, is crucial, ensuring that the symphony of society plays on beautifully and coherently. Rousseau's insight reminds us that revisiting our foundational agreements is not just a task for policymakers or philosophers. It's a collective responsibility. It calls upon each of us to engage in the conversation, to participate in shaping the conventions that govern our lives. After all, these agreements are reflections of our shared values and aspirations. They are as much about preserving the past as they are about embracing the future. As we wrap up today's discussion, let's ponder the timeless relevance of Rousseau's ideas. In a world that constantly evolves, the wisdom of consistently revisiting and reaffirming our foundational agreements is more pertinent than ever. It's about staying connected to our roots while courageously envisioning and building a future that resonates with the needs and dreams of today. So next time you sip your coffee and glance out the window at the bustling world, remember that our collective journey, much like a well-loved story, is always a work in progress. And in the spirit of Rousseau, let's never shy away from going back to that first convention, ensuring that our societal house remains strong, harmonious, and ever ready for generations to come. Until next time, dear friends, stay curious and keep brewing thoughtful conversations. Narration. Welcome back to our exploration of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract. Today, we're diving into Chapter 6, The Social Compact, where Rousseau lays the foundation for his vision of a society built on the collective agreement of its members. So grab your coffee, settle in, and imagine we're sitting in a cozy cafe, sharing insights about this fascinating ideas. /n Rousseau starts with a simple yet profound question. How do we come together to form a society? In essence, he's asking what it means for a group of individuals to unite under a shared set of values and rules. It's akin to a group of friends deciding to form a club, but instead of just choosing a name and a motto, they're laying the groundwork for how they'll coexist, make decisions, and support each other. /n the heart of Rousseau's argument is the idea of the social compact. Picture it as the invisible thread that binds us all, an agreement that each citizen makes not only with the state, but with each other. It's like joining a dance where everyone agrees on the rhythm and steps. And this contract is voluntary. It's a conscious decision to be part of something larger than oneself. /n now. Think about this for a moment. When you willingly give up some freedoms to gain the benefits of being in a society, you're entering into what Rousseau calls a social contract. It's similar to subscribing to a streaming service. By agreeing to pay a monthly fee, you give up the freedom to spend that money elsewhere but gain access to a wealth of entertainment options. The trade-off is voluntary and mutually beneficial. /N Rousseau's social compact is rooted in equality and freedom. Imagine a potluck where everyone brings a dish to share. No dish is more important than another, and everyone gets a taste of each. This is Rousseau's vision of equality. Each person contributes to the common good, and in return, everyone benefits equally from the society's resources and protections. /N, but what happens if someone doesn't bring a dish? Rousseau argues that the social compact ensures compliance. In a potluck, it might mean politely reminding the person of the rules. In society, it involves laws and regulations that ensure everyone plays their part. It's like having a referee in a game, ensuring everyone follows the rules so the game remains fair and enjoyable. /N Rousseau is quite visionary here, suggesting that when people collectively govern themselves, they achieve true freedom. It's the freedom of choosing the rules by which they will be governed, rather than having rules imposed upon them. This notion resonates with modern democratic ideals, where citizens have the power to vote and influence the laws that shape their lives. /N now. Let's bring this idea into today's context. Consider the workplace. Many companies now operate with flat hierarchies where employees have a say in decision-making. This mirrors Rousseau's idea of collective governance. When employees feel they have a stake in the company, they're more engaged and productive. It's the modern-day embodiment of the social compact. /N as we continue this journey, Rousseau highlights the importance of the general will. This is the collective desire of the people for the common good. It's not about individual interests, but what benefits the society as a whole. Think of it as deciding what movie to watch with friends. You might want an action film, while someone else prefers a comedy, but you all agree on a family-friendly film that everyone enjoys. That's the general will in action. /N Rousseau warns, however, that the general will can only be achieved if individuals genuinely put aside their personal interests. This is where the challenge lies. How do we ensure that our personal desires don't overshadow the needs of the group? It's a question that continues to puzzle societies today, as we balance individual rights with collective responsibilities. /N, let's not forget the relevance of this today. In our interconnected world, global issues like climate change demand a social compact not just within nations, but between them. Countries must come together, much like individuals in Rousseau's society, to agree on measures that will benefit the planet as a whole. /N. So, as we wrap up our discussion on Chapter 6, let me leave you with this thought. Rousseau's social compact is more than just a historical idea. It's a living, breathing principle that influences how we design our communities, our governments, and our global interactions. Whether it's a neighborhood deciding on community projects, a nation voting on laws, or the world tackling climate issues, the essence of Rousseau's social compact is everywhere. /N, I hope this discussion has given you a fresh perspective on Rousseau's ideas. Next time you're part of a group decision, whether big or small, remember Rousseau and his vision of a society united by a shared commitment to the common good. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep thinking about how we all play a part in the grand dance of society. See you in the next chapter. Narration. Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to another cozy session of One Book, One Coffee, where we unravel the wisdom of the ages over a steaming cup of joe. Today, we're diving into Chapter 7 of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract, where we explore the captivating idea of the sovereign. So grab your favorite mug, settle into your comfiest chair, and let's explore this fascinating concept together. /N, imagine for a moment you're part of a community meeting. Not just any gathering, but one where every person present has a say in how things should run. This isn't just a town hall event. This is the embodiment of Rousseau's idea of the sovereign. But what does Rousseau mean when he talks about the sovereign? Well, it's not a king, a queen, or a singular ruler in a castle. Instead, it's the collective will of the people, like the ultimate group project where everyone contributes and decides the outcome together. \n now, think about this. Why is this collective entity so important? Rousseau believed that true freedom comes from being part of a society where everyone participates in making the rules. It's like being in a band. Each instrument, each voice, contributes to the music. No single note can dominate, or the harmony is lost. This is the heart of the sovereign. It's about unity, about coming together as a community to create a symphony of laws and norms that everyone agrees upon. \n let's translate that into our modern lives. Picture the democratic process we engage in today. When we vote, we're not just ticking a box, we're expressing our part in the collective will. It's the same principle Rousseau talked about, where each vote is a note in the symphony of governance. But here's a tricky question. How often do we really feel that our single vote matters? Rousseau would remind us that it does, because without those individual notes the music cannot be complete. \n Rousseau takes us further, suggesting that this collective ruling entity, the sovereign, is both powerful and delicate. It's like a delicate ecosystem, where every species, every plant plays a role. If even one is out of balance, the whole system can falter. This highlights the responsibility we all carry within a democracy. Our actions are voices. They ripple through the community, shaping the laws and freedoms we enjoy or endure. \n in our day-to-day lives, we see examples of this every time we participate in community events, engage in public discourse, or even when we share our thoughts on social media. These platforms can be seen as modern town squares, where the collective voice forms and reforms continuously. But here's where it gets interesting. How do we ensure that this collective voice truly represents everyone and not just the loudest? Rousseau pushes us to strive for inclusivity, ensuring that all voices are heard, especially the quiet ones. \n imagine being in a sports team. Every player has a role, and the success of the team depends on everyone being in sync. If one player decides to pursue their own game plan, the whole team can suffer. Similarly, in our social contract, every individual must adhere to the common agreements, the game plan, if you will, for the community to thrive. \n Rousseau also warns us about the dangers when the sovereign's power is misused or ignored. He draws a vivid picture of what happens when people feel disconnected from this collective will. Picture a once flourishing garden, now overrun with weeds because no one tended to it. When individuals stop participating in the community's decision-making, apathy creeps in, and the collective loses its power. It's a wake-up call for us to stay engaged, to water the garden of our community with participation and dialogue. \n in today's context, this might remind us of the importance of civic engagement. It's not just about casting a vote every few years. It's about staying informed, being active in conversations, and holding our leaders accountable. It's about ensuring that our collective voice doesn't become an echo chamber but a vibrant, living dialogue that pushes society forward. \n as we wrap up our discussion on the sovereign, let's take a moment to reflect on its significance. It's a testament to the power of unity, a reminder that together, we hold the power to shape our world. We are the architects of our societies, and with that power comes the responsibility to build something beautiful and just. \n so, next time you sip your coffee and ponder the day's events, remember Rousseau's vision of the sovereign. Let it inspire you to contribute your voice to the collective symphony that governs us all. Thank you for joining me today, and until next time, keep the conversation going and remember, the power lies with us, the people. Cheers. Jason. Narration. Welcome, dear listeners, to this warm, cozy corner of your day where we dive into the heart of one of philosophy's most intriguing discussions. Jean-Jacques Rousseau's transformation from the natural state to the civil state, as explored in Chapter 8 of The Social Contract. So grab your favorite mug, fill it with something comforting, and let's unravel what it means to move from nature's embrace into the fold of civil society. /N Rousseau starts by painting a vivid picture of the natural state. Imagine, if you will, a world where individuals roam free like the wind over open meadows, guided only by personal desires and instincts. A world without the constructs of laws and governments, where each decision is purely for survival or self-interest. This is the state of nature, where life is simple but, as Rousseau suggests, perhaps somewhat solitary and rudimentary. But why would anyone exchange this unbridled freedom for the complexities of civil society? What's the lure of becoming part of a collective when we can live like lone eagles? /N The answer, Rousseau proposes, lies in the benefits that civil society offers. He suggests that by entering into a social contract, individuals transform themselves. Their lives become richer, not just in material terms but in moral and ethical dimensions. It's like upgrading from a black and white film to a vibrant Technicolor movie, where every scene is enriched with the shared experiences and mutual support that only a community can offer. /N Now, think about this. We often hear that in unity, there is strength. Rousseau argues beautifully that this unity doesn't merely mean combining forces for a common goal. It's about creating a new entity altogether, one that has a life of its own. This is the civil state, a society born from the collective general will of its people. It's like baking a cake. Individually, flour, sugar, and eggs are just ingredients, each with its own qualities. But when combined in the right way, they create something entirely new and delightful, far beyond the sum of its parts. /N The civil state, according to Rousseau, is where individuals find true liberty. This might seem counterintuitive at first. How can living under laws and regulations be more liberating than living freely in nature? But Rousseau introduces a profound insight here. True freedom is not merely the ability to do whatever one wants. Instead, it's the ability to act according to a collective decision that reflects the real will of the people. In a sense, it's about having a voice in determining the rules that govern your life. Imagine being part of a choir. Alone, your voice might not carry far, but together, bound by the harmony of shared ideals, you create something powerful and resonant. /N This transition from the natural to the civil state is akin to the metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a butterfly. In its initial form, a caterpillar moves slowly, confined to a narrow existence. But through transformation, it gains wings and the freedom to explore new heights. Similarly, individuals in a civil state are freed from the narrow confines of mere survival to pursue higher aspirations, such as justice, equity, and common welfare. /N In today's world, we can see Rousseau's ideas manifested in various democratic societies. Consider the act of voting. On one level, it's a simple choice made by individuals, but collectively, it becomes a powerful expression of a society's will, shaping the future course of a nation. The rules we agree upon, the leaders we choose, all stem from this foundational idea of the social contract. /N But let's not forget that Rousseau also warns of the challenges in achieving this ideal state. It's not just about forming a government or passing laws. It's about ensuring that the general will is truly represented. In modern times, this might remind us of the ongoing struggles against corruption or the fight for more inclusive representation in politics. These are echoes of Rousseau's caution, an ever-present reminder that the social contract is an ongoing dialogue, requiring vigilance and active participation from all citizens. /N As we wrap up this exploration, let's reflect on how these ideas resonate today. We live in a world that is constantly negotiating the balance between individual freedoms and collective responsibilities. Whether it's wearing masks for public health or tackling climate change through shared commitments, we see Rousseau's civil state principles in action. Each decision, much like those of individuals in Rousseau's civil state, contributes to the larger symphony of society. And so, next time you sip your coffee while contemplating the state of the world, think about the journey from nature to society. Consider how each of us, through our actions and choices, participates in the creation of a society that ideally reflects our highest aspirations. And remember, in the civil state, we are all not just participants but also custodians of our shared future. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay engaged, and keep questioning. That's the essence of a truly vibrant society. Jason. Narration. As we prepare to dive into Chapter 9 of Rousseau's The Social Contract, let's imagine ourselves sitting in a cozy cafe, sipping on our favorite brew, and chatting about something as fundamental yet complex as property rights. It's a topic that might seem a little dry at first glance, but Jean-Jacques Rousseau has a way of making it both challenging and enlightening. And Rousseau begins by tackling the concept of real property, the sacred pillar upon which much of our civilization stands. He asks us to think deeply about ownership and its legitimacy. Now, consider this. Why do we, as humans, feel the need to claim pieces of the earth as our own? This notion might seem innate, but Rousseau invites us to question its very foundation. Imagine a pristine piece of land, untouched by human hands. When someone first declares, "This is mine," Rousseau argues that it marks not just a personal claim but the birth of inequality. It's a bold statement, isn't it? He sees this act as the original sin of society, the moment when we began to draw lines between ours and theirs. And Rousseau doesn't merely frown upon property rights. He acknowledges their necessity in the framework of social order. But he insists on a crucial point. Property should serve a collective good, not just personal ambition. He imagines a world where ownership is not about hoarding wealth, but ensuring everyone's needs are met. This idea might seem utopian, but think about how modern concepts of sustainable living and community land trusts echo these sentiments. They strive to balance personal rights with communal responsibilities, just as Rousseau envisioned. Let's bring this idea closer to home. Picture a community garden, a small oasis in an urban jungle. Here, people come together to cultivate plants, share the produce, and foster a sense of belonging. No single person owns the garden, yet everyone benefits from it. Isn't this a microcosm of Rousseau's ideal? It's an example of how property can serve the greater good when managed collectively. Rousseau's exploration of property rights is not just a critique, but a call to reevaluate our values. He challenges us to consider how these rights, if left unchecked, could lead to inequality and social discord. Now, think about the modern housing crisis, where soaring property prices and limited access to affordable housing highlight the stark divisions in society. Rousseau's insights feel incredibly prescient, don't they? And he also delves into the moral dimensions of property ownership. Rousseau posits that true ownership is not merely about possession, but about stewardship. Imagine holding something precious, a family heirloom perhaps. It's not just yours to keep, it's yours to care for, to pass down, ensuring it serves future generations. This idea transforms property from a right into a responsibility. As we continue our conversation over coffee, let's reflect on how Rousseau's thoughts on property extend to our digital age. In a world where digital assets and intellectual property are gaining prominence, how do we apply his wisdom? Consider an open-source software project. Developers around the globe contribute their time and skills, creating something greater than themselves. The project belongs to everyone, and yet no one, embodying the communal spirit Rousseau advocates. And Rousseau's arguments invite us to reimagine the social contract itself. He encourages us to envision a society where mutual respect and shared responsibility are at the heart of our interactions. The key takeaway here is the emphasis on cooperation rather than competition, a notion that feels especially relevant in today's interconnected world. \n\n. As we wrap up our discussion on this chapter, let's savor the richness of Rousseau's insights. He's not just talking about land or possessions. He's exploring the essence of human relationships and the structures we build around them. If we approach property not as a fortress to defend but as a bridge to connect us, we might just inch closer to the harmonious society Rousseau envisioned. \n. With these thoughts, we close our book for today, leaving with a renewed perspective on what it means to own something in this world. Remember, it's not just about claiming but about sharing and nurturing. Until next time, keep these ideas brewing in the back of your mind, much like the perfect cup of coffee, waiting to be savored. Imagine you're sitting at your favorite coffee shop, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee swirling around you, and you're deep in conversation about the essence of ownership. This is where Rousseau takes us in Chapter 10 of The Social Contract, as he unravels the concept of property and its pivotal role in society. Now think about this. What does it mean to truly own something? Is it just about having a legal title, or is there something deeper at play? Rousseau dives into this question with a warm, almost conversational style that invites us to explore the very foundations of ownership and how it shapes our world. Rousseau starts by acknowledging that property is a natural extension of our existence. Just like how a bird claims its nest, humans have an innate drive to claim a piece of the earth as their own. But unlike the bird, our claims come with complexities and societal impacts. He argues that the right of property is not just a simple matter of possession, but a crucial contract between individuals and society. This social contract, as he calls it, is what grants legitimacy to ownership beyond mere physical control. To paint a picture, let's consider your favorite coffee mug. You might have bought it at a local artisan market, and now it's your go-to cup for every morning brew. It's not just a mug, it's a symbol of comfort and routine. But why do you feel it belongs to you? It's because there's an unspoken agreement between you and everyone else that recognizes your ownership. Nobody questions it. This is precisely the kind of agreement Rousseau is talking about, a shared understanding that transforms mere possession into rightful ownership. Rousseau also warns us about the dangers of misunderstanding property. He notes that when ownership is unchecked, it can lead to inequality and conflict. Picture a game of Monopoly that never ends. The board gets crowded, and soon enough, one player owns all the hotels while others struggle to pass go. This imbalance is what Rousseau cautions against. He believes the role of society is to ensure that property rights don't lead to such disparities, but instead contribute to the greater good. In today's world, this idea resonates more than ever. Consider the digital landscape, where property isn't just physical. Think of intellectual property rights, like the music you listen to or the software you use. These are modern-day extensions of Rousseau's thoughts. Just as in the past, where land was the primary asset, today's digital assets require their own form of societal contracts to ensure fair use and distribution. Rousseau's insights also invite us to reflect on how property influences our relationships and responsibilities. He suggests that with ownership comes a duty to use our property wisely and ethically. It's not just about having, but about stewarding. Let's revisit that favorite coffee mug. It's yours, but if you were to lend it to a friend, there's an implicit trust that they will care for it just as you would. This simple act of lending encapsulates Rousseau's vision of responsible ownership, a balance between rights and responsibilities. As Rousseau navigates through these ideas, he uses the metaphor of a garden. Imagine each of us as gardeners, entrusted with plots of land. Our task is to cultivate and care for our gardens, but we're also bound by the shared responsibility of ensuring our plots don't harm our neighbors. If one garden flourishes while others wilt, the imbalance affects the entire community. This metaphor beautifully illustrates Rousseau's call for a harmonious balance between personal rights and collective well-being. Now, let's take a moment to apply these ideas in a broader context. Consider how cities grapple with housing issues today. Urban spaces represent a complex web of property rights, where the need for shelter often clashes with market forces. Rousseau's principles remind us that while owning a home is a fundamental right, society must also ensure that this right doesn't lead to exclusion or inequality. Imagine a world where property ownership is guided not just by wealth, but by communal responsibility and fairness. A world where everyone has a seat at the table. As our conversation draws to a close, it's clear that Rousseau's exploration of property is as relevant now as it was in his time. His insights challenge us to rethink ownership not as an isolated right, but as an integral part of our social fabric. They urge us to consider how our personal choices, whether purchasing a home or downloading a new app, fit into the larger societal contract we all share. So, as you sip the last of your coffee and ponder these ideas, remember that the right of property is a tapestry woven with individual threads of ownership and collective strands of responsibility. It's a dynamic balance that shapes our lives, urging us to be mindful stewards of the world we inhabit. And who knows? Perhaps the next time you pick up that beloved coffee mug, you'll see it not just as yours, but as part of a larger, interconnected story that touches us all. Narration. Welcome back, dear listeners, to another captivating journey through the pages of a classic as we delve into Chapter 11 of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract. Imagine us sitting at our favorite cafe, the aroma of coffee swirling around us, while we unpack the wisdom of Rousseau like two friends deeply engaged in conversation. Today, we're exploring the fascinating world of lawgivers, those individuals who have the immense responsibility and power to craft the laws that govern society. And now, think about this. What makes a good lawgiver? Is it wisdom? Is it vision? Or perhaps it's their ability to understand the needs of the people and the circumstances of their times. Rousseau posits that a lawgiver is nothing short of a founding artist, molding the social framework much like a sculptor chisels stone into a beautiful statue. This isn't just about drafting a set of rules, it's about setting the stage for a society to flourish. And yet, it's not an easy task. The lawgiver stands apart, in a role almost divine, but with all too human limitations. And Rousseau describes the lawgiver as someone who must be able to transcend the everyday bias and prejudices that cloud our judgment. This requires a rare combination of qualities: wisdom, experience, and an almost prophetic insight into the future. Imagine someone who can see not just the current desires and conflicts of the people, but also comprehend how these will evolve. He must be a visionary who can build a system that guides people toward their better selves. The task is daunting because it's not just about what the people want now, but what will serve their highest good in the long run. Consider the metaphor of a gardener cultivating a diverse garden. The gardener doesn't simply plant the seeds and walk away. They must understand the climate, the soil, the seasons, and how each plant grows. They must foresee how today's care will influence tomorrow's bloom. Similarly, a lawgiver crafts laws with the foresight of how they will impact society, both immediately and in the distant future. And let's bring this concept into a modern context. Think about the framers of the United States Constitution. They were lawgivers in every sense of Rousseau's definition, facing the immense challenge of creating a new government. They had to balance differing interests, anticipate future needs, and create a document that could endure changing times. Their work wasn't just about the present moment. It was a bold vision for a nation yet to come. And Rousseau highlights that one of the key challenges for the lawgiver is to separate personal interests from public needs. This resonates today when we think about policymakers and legislators. How often do we hear debates about whether a decision is made for the public good or for personal gain? The lawgiver must rise above this, seeing beyond individual biases and considering the collective welfare of society. But here's a twist. Rousseau also notes that the lawgiver cannot do it alone. Unlike a tyrant who imposes laws from above, a true lawgiver seeks the consent and involvement of the people. It's a dance between authority and democracy, between guidance and freedom. The laws must be accepted by those they govern, aligning with their values and needs. It's about leading without wielding absolute power. \n Imagine a conductor orchestrating a symphony. The musicians each have their own part to play, their own instruments to master. The conductor must understand each part, bringing them together in harmony, yet ultimately, the music is created by the collective effort of the entire orchestra. In the same way, a lawgiver must harmonize the diverse voices of society, crafting laws that reflect a unified vision. \n In today's world, this principle is more relevant than ever. With the rapid pace of change, from technological advancements to cultural shifts, we need lawgivers who can navigate these complexities. They must balance progress with tradition, innovation with stability. Consider the laws around digital privacy, climate change, or global trade, each demanding a nuanced understanding and the ability to anticipate future impacts. \n As we wrap up our discussion, let's ponder this. What kind of lawgivers do we need today? How do we find those who can inspire and unite, who craft laws that empower and protect? Whether we're talking about global leaders or local policymakers, the essence of Rousseau's insights remains crucial. We need visionaries who, like Rousseau's ideal lawgiver, can transcend the immediate and look toward creating a future that reflects our highest ideals. \n I hope this exploration has sparked some thoughts and perhaps even a bit of inspiration as we sip our coffee and consider the role of those who shape the laws that govern our world. Until next time, let's keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep striving for a society shaped by wisdom and vision. Cheers to another chapter of insight and discovery. Imagine sitting in a bustling cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloping you. Conversations hum around you, rich with laughter and debate. Now, picture this scene as a microcosm of society, each person a vital thread in the intricate tapestry of community life. This is where Rousseau's reflections in Chapter 12, The People, from the Social Contract, come alive, exploring the profound role citizens play in shaping their communal identity. Rousseau paints a vivid portrait of society as a living organism, where each citizen is a vital cell, contributing to the health and vitality of the whole. He believed that the strength of a society depends on the active participation and shared identity of its people. Now, think about this. In your own community, how does the involvement or apathy of individuals affect the overall spirit and direction of the group? Just as a single note in music can enhance or disrupt the harmony of a melody, each person's engagement amplifies the collective voice of society. Rousseau argues that a true sense of belonging and communal identity is forged not through mere proximity, but through shared values and common goals. It's like being part of a team where every player understands their role and works towards a shared victory. In today's world, we see this reflected in movements that unite people across vast distances, using technology to connect and inspire collective action. Whether it's rallying for climate change or advocating for social justice, these movements demonstrate how individuals can come together to form a powerful, cohesive force. But what does it mean to be a citizen in Rousseau's sense? It goes beyond the legal status of nationality. It's about being an active participant in the governance and betterment of society. Consider this. When was the last time you felt truly engaged in your community's decisions? Perhaps it was voting in an election, attending a town hall, or even participating in a local cleanup. These actions, however small, echo Rousseau's vision of citizenship, where each person contributes to the common good. Rousseau emphasizes the importance of a social contract, an implicit agreement among the people to cooperate for mutual benefit. Imagine it as a giant potluck dinner, where everyone brings a dish to share. The variety and abundance only work if everyone participates and contributes. This metaphor beautifully illustrates how each person's willingness to share in the responsibilities and benefits of society creates a thriving communal life. In our modern context, think of the ways we're interconnected through social media and digital platforms. While they offer unprecedented opportunities for engagement and dialogue, they also pose challenges to authentic community building. Rousseau's insights remind us to seek depth in our connections, valuing genuine interactions over superficial ones. When we prioritize meaningful conversations and collaborative efforts, we nurture the fabric of society, much like tending to a garden that flourishes under careful care and attention. Rousseau also warns against the dangers of individualism overshadowing the collective good. In a world that often glorifies personal success, it's easy to lose sight of the impact our actions have on the larger community. Reflect for a moment. How do your daily choices, what you buy, consume, or promote, affect those around you? This awareness of interconnectedness is crucial. Like ripples in a pond, our actions spread outwards, influencing the community and ultimately the world. He beautifully illustrates this with the analogy of a river, where each tributary, no matter how small, contributes to the flow and strength of the current. Imagine your actions as one of these tributaries. Are they enhancing the flow of society, contributing to its progress, or are they merely diverting resources away from the collective benefit? As we delve into the heart of Rousseau's ideas, let's consider the role of education in fostering citizenship. He believed education should cultivate an individual's capacity to think critically and act ethically within society. Think of it as planting a seed that, with the right nourishment, grows into a tree that offers shade and fruit to all. In our rapidly changing world, education remains a powerful tool for equipping individuals to contribute meaningfully to their communities. So, as we bring our discussion of the people to a close, imagine how these ideas from centuries ago remain relevant today. In a world rife with challenges and opportunities, Rousseau's reflections invite us to redefine citizenship, not just as a status, but as an active, living practice. How might you, in your own way, contribute to the symphony of voices that defines your community? Whether through small acts of kindness or larger commitments to social change, each of us has the power to shape the narrative of our society. As you finish your coffee and prepare to step back into the world, carry with you the warmth of Rousseau's insights. Remember, you are not just a spectator in the grand play of society, but a vital actor, capable of influencing the course of history. Let's nurture our roles as citizens, not just for ourselves, but for the generations yet to come. I'm sorry, I can only provide responses in a valid JSON format. However, I'm happy to help with your request. Here is the narration in JSON format. JSON. Narration. Welcome back to One Book, One Coffee, where we dive into the rich world of classic literature with a warm cup in hand. Today, let's journey through Chapter 13 of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract, a chapter that might just change the way you think about voting and elections. Picture this. You're at a bustling town hall, voices buzzing around you as people discuss the future of their community. This is what voting and elections represent in Rousseau's vision, a lively, engaged citizenry actively participating in shaping the world they inhabit. Now think about this. What does it really mean to cast a vote? For Rousseau, it's not merely the act of ticking a box. It's much more profound. It's about entering into a social contract, a commitment to the collective will. Voting, therefore, isn't just a right, it's a responsibility, a moral duty we owe to each other as members of a society. /n/n Imagine a ship at sea, everyone aboard having a say in the course it takes. In Rousseau's world, the ship is the state, and the passengers are its citizens. Each voice matters, and the direction the ship takes depends on each individual's input. This metaphor highlights Rousseau's belief in the sovereignty of the people. When we vote, we are, in essence, helping steer the ship of state. /n/n Rousseau was ahead of his time in recognizing that, for a society to function optimally, everyone needs to participate. He argued that the authority of rulers comes from the consent of the governed. It's a concept that resonates deeply even today, especially when we consider the power dynamics in modern democracies. Have you ever felt like your vote doesn't matter or won't make a difference? Rousseau would have challenged that notion. Every vote is a thread in the fabric of the social contract, weaving together the diverse interests and voices of the people. /n/n Let's talk about elections. In Rousseau's time, the idea of free and fair elections was revolutionary. Elections were the mechanism through which the general will of the people was expressed. He believed that for elections to truly reflect the will of the people, they must be conducted in a way that is transparent and free from corruption. Fast forward to today, and the integrity of elections remains a hot topic. Think about the conversations around voter suppression or electoral fraud. These are modern echoes of Rousseau's concerns. /n/n Rousseau also pondered the nature of representation in government. He was somewhat skeptical of representative democracy, worried that it could distance the rulers from the people. He preferred direct democracy, where citizens have a direct hand in decision-making. Now, you might be wondering, how does this apply to us today? Consider the rise of digital platforms that allow for more direct participation in governance, like e-petitions or participatory budgeting. These innovations are bringing us closer to Rousseau's ideal of a more engaged and direct democratic process. /n/n. But let's not forget the human element. At the heart of voting and elections is the individual citizen, with hopes, dreams, and aspirations. Rousseau reminds us that the social contract is not just about laws and policies, but about real people. Think of it as a potluck dinner. Everyone brings their unique dish to the table, contributing to a feast that's richer because of each individual's effort. /n/n In our current age, where political apathy can sometimes seem pervasive, Rousseau's insights are more pertinent than ever. He challenges us to see beyond our individual interests, to consider the greater good. So next time you feel disillusioned by politics, remember Rousseau's ship. You are not just a passenger. You're a part of the crew with a vital role to play. /n/n As we wrap up today's discussion, let's carry with us the image of that town hall, a vibrant, dynamic space where each person's voice contributes to the chorus of society. Rousseau's message is clear. The health of a society depends on the active participation of its citizens. Each vote, each election, is a step towards realizing the communal vision of the social contract. /n/n Thank you for joining me for this exploration of Rousseau's ideas. Until next time, keep pondering those big questions over your cup of coffee, and remember that your voice truly matters in the grand tapestry of society. Narration. Welcome, friends, to another cozy session of One Book, One Coffee, where today we're diving into a fascinating chapter of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract. Now, imagine yourself sitting in an 18th century European cafe, surrounded by the intellectual buzz of revolution and enlightenment. You take a sip of your coffee and we're ready to talk about Chapter 14, Civil Religion. So what exactly is civil religion and why does it matter? Well, Rousseau argues that religion and the state are deeply intertwined in societal governance. He paints a picture of a society where the spiritual and the political are not separate realms, but are woven together to create a fabric that holds a community together. Let's break this down a bit. Imagine a tapestry, each thread representing a belief or tradition that connects individuals to the larger community. This is how Rousseau envisions civil religion. It's not about specific doctrines or divine mandates, but about shared values and common beliefs that elevate the social fabric. Now, think about this. How often do we see in today's world where national symbols or even certain holidays become almost sacred in how they unite people? Consider how powerful national anthems can be at sporting events, stirring a sense of unity and pride. /n/n Rousseau presents civil religion as a social necessity. He suggests that a set of shared beliefs can foster a sense of belonging and loyalty among citizens, just like how a sports team rallies its fans. But here's where the conversation gets interesting. Rousseau warns against the dangers of a dogmatic approach to civil religion, where the state might impose rigid beliefs on its citizens. He is cautious about the possibility of intolerance and persecution in the name of unity. This is where his wisdom shines through. He highlights the importance of balance, of ensuring that these shared beliefs don't overshadow individual freedoms and personal conscience. Let's pause for a moment and think about modern parallels. In our world today, where diverse cultures and religions coexist, how do societies manage to create a sense of unity without trampling on individual freedoms? Consider countries like India, a vibrant tapestry of languages, cultures, and religions, yet bound by a shared identity as a democratic nation. The challenge is to maintain this unity while celebrating diversity. /N Rousseau's insights compel us to reflect on the role of symbols, ceremonies, and rituals in our own lives. Whether it's the 4th of July fireworks or Thanksgiving dinners, these events are more than just gatherings. They are part of our civil religion, forming chapters in the story of our collective identity. These rituals offer comfort, a sense of continuity, and a way to reaffirm our values. /N, but let's not forget Rousseau's cautionary note. He reminds us of the fragility of this social contract. The moment a state attempts to become a theocracy, to dictate and enforce beliefs, it risks losing legitimacy. Now, think about how this applies to debates over freedom of expression and religious symbols in public spaces today. How do we balance respect for diverse beliefs with the need for a cohesive national identity? Rousseau was ahead of his time in recognizing the potential for conflict between personal beliefs and civic duties. His vision was progressive, a society where civil religion fosters unity while respecting individual rights. It's about finding the sweet spot where the scales of unity and personal freedom are balanced, much like a well-brewed cup of coffee where no flavor overpowers the other. /N, he uses the metaphor of a political body, where the heart represents the sovereignty of the people, and civil religion acts like the veins, circulating shared values and beliefs that sustain the body politic. Without this circulation, the political body would become weak, disjointed. /N, as we wrap up our conversation today, let's reflect on how Rousseau's ideas are not just theories of the past but living questions that confront us every day. Whether we're debating the role of religion in schools or the appropriateness of patriotism in political discourse, these ideas are alive and kicking. They challenge us to think critically about the society we want to build and the values we choose to uphold. So, as you take your last sip of coffee, consider how your own views fit into this broader tapestry. How do your beliefs, your values, contribute to the civil religion in your community, in your country? And are we, as a society, finding that delicate balance Rousseau envisioned? /N, remember, Rousseau's work, much like a classic novel, offers lessons and insights that remain timeless. Open the pages, sip your coffee, and ponder the profound questions of unity, identity, and freedom. Until next time, keep reading, keep questioning, and keep those discussions alive over your next cup of coffee. Jean-Jacques Rousseau's The Social Contract is a profound exploration of the nature of human society and the legitimate foundations of political order. Rousseau challenges us to rethink the relationship between individuals and the state, proposing that genuine freedom and equality can only emerge from a collective community governed by the general will. This book questions the very essence of democracy and offers insights into how citizens can and should shape the societies they live in. Here are some key actionable takeaways from the book. 1. Embrace the general will *. The idea of the general will is central to Rousseau's philosophy. It suggests that true freedom is found not in individual liberties, but in aligning personal desires with the collective good. Start small by engaging with your local community and understanding broader societal needs. Be patient in aligning your interests with those around you. 2. Question authority. Rousseau argues that authority should only exist with the consent of the governed. Apply this by questioning the decisions of those in power and advocating for transparency and accountability in leadership. Start by engaging in community meetings or discussions to voice concerns and understand different perspectives. 3. Prioritize equality. The social contract emphasizes equality as a fundamental principle. Practically, this means striving for fairness in your interactions and supporting policies that aim to reduce inequality. Begin with small actions like supporting local initiatives that promote equal opportunities. 4. Value civic engagement. *. Active participation in civic life is crucial for a healthy democracy. Rousseau encourages us to be active citizens. Make it a habit to stay informed about civic issues and participate in voting and public discussions. Start incredibly small by setting aside time each week to read about a local issue. 5. Cultivate a sense of duty. Understand that individual liberty is balanced by a sense of duty to the community. Implement this by volunteering for causes that matter to you and being a conscientious community member. Begin by dedicating a few hours each month to serving others in some capacity. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with at least one idea from this book that stuck with you, one concept you're going to carry forward. It could be something that challenged your thinking, something you want to try, or even something you disagreed with. Your insight might be exactly what another listener needs to hear today. And if this summary gave you something valuable, a new perspective, a spark of motivation, or even just a peaceful hour with your coffee, share it with someone who might need it too. Subscribe to One Book, One Coffee, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a new summary. Every week we sit down together with one great book, one warm cup of coffee, and the simple belief that wisdom, shared well, can change lives. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and remember, every small step counts. See you at the next book.